And we are live. So let me I'm just going to repeat it for the people who are going to watch, because most people are watching the recording. So this is Barbara. She's a lifetime student of facial analysis. And what we were just talking about is how humans are wired to read and to understand and decipher characteristics in the face and the hand and the body language. And we're wired for it, even for our survival. When you see an animal growling at you, or even a human being scowling or having features that seem dangerous, some part of us knows this. And so what Barbara has done in her work is to translate it so the head, so our cognitive center, is in touch with what our body already knows. And she's going to share some of her findings here. And the topic for today is compatibility in relationships. Last week we talked about financial features in the face. Today it's going to be about love and romance. So Barbara, I'm going to let you take over, and I'm going to shut up here, and you have the stage. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Simon. I just love listening to you. You want to just keep going?
They have enough of me. They hear me all the time. So you have the stage today. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. And many of you I've already seen, so I'm so excited to see you again, your faces. So today we're talking about romance for the holidays, or just getting along harmoniously with your brother at Christmas, or your mother-in-law, or whoever it is. So the key with face reading is we're used to looking at people, but we don't really see them. And face reading will give you the immediate skills. I call it face reading, how to know anyone at a glance. So people even tell me they do this from across the room at staff meetings, or when you're doing a cold call with somebody, if you're in a work situation, how to know how to approach them. You have this much information to give them, but you look at them and see, what kind of person am I working with? How do they think? What are their emotions like? And then you take what you have to give and you translate it so it reaches them more quickly and you're more effective. Oh, look at the cat. So sweet.
She just climbed up here. I did not put her here. That's what I was telling you. She climbs up and hangs out and is like, hey, what's going on? I think she used to be like a parrot in a past life, and she sailed on a pirate ship across the 7 seas. Anyway.
Very possible. Well, sometimes you'll laugh, but sometimes when I look at people, I get a printout of all their past lives. And so I go, okay, so you're learning this, this, and this. And once I looked at this, there was this 18-year-old guy who came, and I looked at him and I said, I'm seeing intuitively, I'm seeing the white and red roses. And he went, oh, I speak fluent Russian. And that's the war of blah, 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 blah. And he went, and I'm just on my way to Russia. And then I looked at his t-shirt and it was all in Russian, which I don't speak. So I didn't know that. So it was like, but that's a certain war that he was in, I think, or something anyway. But it was like, and then I'll look at someone and I'll say, well, can you tell me what I was, what my house was like growing up, or something or other about my early childhood. And so this woman was born in England, and I'm looking intuitively, I'm looking at the wallpaper on her baby's room. When she was a baby, I'm looking at the wallpaper. I'm like, so anyway, so sometimes it's very intuitive, actually most of the time. So anyway, today we're going to get right to relationships. It's hard to be talking when I'm looking at this cat who's falling asleep on your shoulder. It's sort of great fun. Okay, so I'll try to focus here. Okay, focus.
Focus, Barb.
Focus. All right, so what we are using this for is to attract a partner, to attract a harmonious work environment. And the old metaphysical way of bringing things to you is that we used to say, well, just make a list of everything and then you put it out in the ether. And what happens, so I've heard from the 10,000 people who call me in who I've met doing face reading, that yes, you might draw somebody, but also they might have a cocaine addiction, or they might be married or something. So those list things don't work. But the technique I'm going to start with is one that does work. And it's one that I learned I was guest speaker at a famous spa, Rancho La Puerta in Mexico. And the head of the art department told me this. I was like, wow, this is how she drew her job. And this is how she drew her husband, who I met. I went, well, that's pretty cool. So, anyway, so here's the technique. We're going to do it together. And I did this actually to find my last job when I worked in medicine. And I'm going to tell you that story in a second. But instead of like making that list metaphysically of here's what I want and God, he should, if I'm looking for a man relationship, he should be this tall, he should own a house, he should be blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. So the technique is that after meditation, you focus at the Christ Center, which again, as we know, is the sending connection in yoga. The heart is the receiving. So what we're doing is focusing here, and we're feeling or visualizing ourself as happy. And so we're going to be very quiet. We go inside our core and we see ourselves in a relationship. We imagine we're in a relationship and we feel happy. And you fill yourself up with happy. In other words, you fill yourself up with this sense of everyone's different in what they want in a relationship. For example, I was doing a class on romance, and this woman, I asked people, what do you want? And believe it or not, someone said, I just want a man who is really handsome, who has a BMW. And I went, okay, well, good luck with that. I didn't say anything. I went, okay, okay. Whereas for me, it would be someone who can communicate, who has inner depth, or, so everyone's different in what they want, believe it or not. So, so the technique, we're going to do it together, is you're going to shut your eyes and you're going to go into your core. You're just going to take a deep breath, and you're going to go into your hands and your arms and your legs, and you're going to deeply relax. You're going to put both of your feet on the ground. And so we're thinking of a relationship, and we have no idea what it looks like or what it's going to be like. But the feeling in the heart is, I'm going to be happy. And we feel this mentally, or we visualize, for example, being happy. For someone, it might be where you go home, you're visualizing yourself in your new next relationship. You go home and it's very comfortable, and you're cooking dinner with this partner. Um, you're just sitting and talking, having tea or something, and it's deep, and you just feel very nurtured. And so you're going to feel that as being happy. There, of course, hopefully in really good marriages, there's a sensual component, there's a romantic component where you just like feel yourself hugging the person, or you put your head on the person's shoulder and you feel happy. You feel that you're being understood, you feel that you're being loved, and love in return, that you can express your affection, the person's receptive. So you continue in whatever ways make you happy, and you just expand that happiness. And you do this for 5 or 10 minutes after your meditation every day. And the goal is a relationship happy. Now, how this works is this. When you first start doing an affirmation or a technique using yoga, or these inner laws, it's like, I call it like a piece of wood. So you can open your eyes now and watch what I'm doing. The piece of wood's in front of you. And so here's a new affirmation or something that you're working with. So it's going to try to, it's like a saw. It's going to try to find the part of the wood so it can start start going through the wood. So for the first 2 or 3 weeks, whenever you start a new affirmation or whatever, it's trying to find the groove. So what that means is every fear, worry, and doubt you've ever had about a new relationship comes right to the surface. I'm too old, I'm too fat, I have too much money, I don't have enough money, I have children, I don't have children, whatever it is, it all comes right to the surface. I've never had another good relation, it all just comes. So that's the first 2 weeks of doing any kind of inner work intensely when you start doing an affirmation or even a visualization. So you just expect that. You go, okay, first 2 weeks, you just keep going. And then what happens, here's the piece of wood, the saw, which is your new visualization for yourself, asking God to guide you. So it starts, and then after about 2 weeks, it starts sawing through. And then you start to see the results. And the goal in all of this is the results come on God's timing. Let's say your partner, whoever this person is, isn't ready to come yet. So you just keep holding your heart open, visualizing yourself happy. And the key with this is people come in when we're happy. You know, a higher quality person comes in because we feel joyful, because we feel content inside. And that's the kind of person you want to draw. There's an affirmation also that Yogananda gave, who's my teacher, and we can do this together. So just go ahead and shut your eyes again. And you might do this during the day. And it is, as I radiate love and goodwill to others, I open the channel for God's love to come to me. Divine love is the magnet that draws to me all good. So during the day, especially during Christmas, if there are any conflicts with people or people are, running around, driving crazy, you just go back in your center. And because even with COVID, there's an outer environment and there's an inner environment. And our outer environment is sometimes a little messy. We don't always have control of an outer environment, but we have control over what we're feeling and thinking at all times. And so again, as I radiate love and goodwill to others, I open the channel for God's love to flow to me. Divine love is the magnet that draws to me all good. Okay, so we're now going to go, so that's a technique for drawing a life partner. You can also draw a job using that technique where you visualize yourself as happy. And I drew my last job when I worked in public health at Scripps. And what I was looking for, which I just turned over in surrender, I just said, Lord, I'd like a job. It was ridiculous. 10 minutes from my house. No one gets that, with full benefits, working half time, where it's like, so I just sort of did this affirmation, in terms of imagining happy, just surrendering it. And then of course going looking, and putting out the energy, because that's our part, is dynamically putting out energy, asking God to guide us. So within 2 weeks, because this thing can go really fast, I found a job 5 minutes from home at Scripps, which is our top hospital. And I worked half-time and I got full benefits. And then out of 600 nurses, I was nurse of the quarter. So I got an honor for my skills in medicine. And it was perfect job. So things can go like this. And the goal of the spiritual life is to feel you're connected to God, so that when you have a need, you ask, and then it just, that it's coming, and then it just comes. I know that sounds, so it's something we all work towards. Okay, now that's a technique, as I said, you can do for anything. So now we're going to go into romance and relationships. Even though we're talking about romance today, you can use all these facial features universally, to figure out who your brother is, or why your mom is like she is, or whatever. They're all universal. We're just going to turn this one topic today. So the goal for face reading, we're looking at what are called facial features, and those would be anything on the face. Now, in my book, I talk about, and the book's online, we'll do that later, but I talk about like the shape of the earlobe, the teeth structure, the lips, like there are 40 noses, the eye has 10 parts. So everything says something about you that makes you special. So I'm the only author to look at people of all different ethnic backgrounds, which is my honor and fun, as Simon mentioned. And the goal with this is, let's say someone is African American or Hispanic or from Asia. So we're expecting them to have black hair and brown eyes. So any quality that I think might be an ethnic feature, I take that and I put it aside. And then I look at the facial features, because there are thousands in the face, that make that person really special. Okay, so for romance, what we're looking for is called a 70-30 match. 70% of the facial features are similar, 30% are different. And the 30% that are different is the chemistry. Now, it can be someone of completely different ethnic backgrounds. It really doesn't matter. but the features are similar. And then the second component in doing this is what I call shin, CHEN. Shin is energy. So sometimes people look alike because they have the same essence. And we're going to look at a lot of photos of couples here and a lot of facial features. Could I have them all marked so you can see them clearly? Um, the part, and I cover all this in the book, the part about romance, the eye color, for example, when you're trying to get a 70-30 match, what that means is that the person has a strong eye color or a paler eye color. Like if their eye color is a very pale blue, then someone who has a very mild hazel eye, that's a match. Whereas if they have a deep brown eye, then someone with a deep blue-gray eye would be a match. So it's the depth when you look at eye color. Okay, so the first story I'm going to tell you is when I was on Tyra Banks, I had the honor of being on, as you know, 75 TV shows, national TVs. So this particular person, I went through 24 pages of relationships looking for the ideal marriage partner for Tyra Banks. So this gentleman has the facial features that indicate, so we're going to go through, keep in mind, all features are different and everyone has their own personality. In his face, all the features are for good marriage and children. So I'm just going to go through them briefly as an example. So to start with, he's got the rounded forehead line, which is people, 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 which is lovely. He has multiple parts of his face, the cheek area and the eyebrows that are round, which is loving harmony at home. He also has a very round chin, which is love of animals and children. And then, so he's got also the rounded face structure. And this is just easy to get along with, very easy to get along with. And yeah, so anyway, he was the man I chose. I called him the perfect marriage partner. Okay, so what we're going to look at first, and this is romance, but it's universal, of course. We're going to look at lips. So lips are what you give and receive in an intimate relationship. It's your style. And the goal when I look at couples, and I do this all day long on the internet, is that you're safe. You know, that when you're dating, you're safe. And especially on a first date, you'll be able to also, and this is in the book, look at the right and the left side of someone's face. Now, the right side is this is my right side. Keep in mind the optic nerve turns in the back. So when you're looking at someone, the right side is opposite. That's their work life. The left side is their interpersonal life. If you're dating them, you're their wife, you're their daughter, son, whatever, you're on their left side, and they can be very, very, very different. In another class, we looked at Abraham Lincoln at the end of his life, and we saw that the right side of his face, which is I am president, dynamic, I will get you through the Civil War, I'm here, I'm, you know, like this. The left side of his face, however, when you split it, if you pull his image up on Google Images, the left side is horrifically traumatized, and that's the dying of his son. It's seeing all the soldiers killed in the war, and it just looks like a mask. It's so traumatized. So they can be very different. So the right and left side, as an example, you want, if the left side looks good, that means the person's doing a lot of inner transformation. Sometimes people who work in medicine or trauma, our right side looks really tired. And this is that we've seen a lot of suffering. But the left side, if it looks good, means that we're turning it over to God. We're working through it. You know, we're getting counseling. We're doing whatever we need to do to move through it and still be effective. The second possibility is when both sides are the same. And this is what you see is what you get. Like in the Dalai Lama, ironically enough, Naomi Judd has both sides of her face the same. The last option, which is not as positive, is when the right side looks wonderful, which is who I am. Two people are presented, looks wonderful, but the left side is not wonderful or looks cruel or looks disturbed. that means who I am inside. I'm in denial about who I am inside, where I'm showing people it looks great, where my family is suffering because I'm not doing well. And the goal of face reading is not to judge people, but it's to understand them. And oftentimes what I work with is if someone's having, this, is to offer, ask them to go into counseling, with a professional counselor or get medical help in some way. The goal is that we intervene if we can, lovingly, to help someone. One example years ago was someone from one of my classes brought a friend, and the woman was married. I'll call her Jane, the woman who came as a client. She was married to a famous minister, very famous minister. And she showed me his picture, and I looked at the two sides of the face. The right side is, this is wonderful, I'm together, everything's good. The left side was completely different. And the left side was actually very cold and cruel. And the first thing I said, and usually, because many of you have already had a session, I usually am fairly positive, that's the goal. But when I looked at this picture, I said to her, is he hurting the children? And she said, yes, he's beating the children and he's abusive to me, and no one sees it. And that's because the left side is hidden. It's our personal life, it's who we are in a relationship. So when you start dating, or if you're looking on the internet to meet someone, you're going to separate the face vertically and look at the left side, because that's who the person is. Okay. Here's the first one with lips. So this lip is where the lips are the same. Basically, the upper lip and the lower lip are about this, and this is very unusual, where they're about the same in terms of this way. And when the lips are balanced, what this means is for the person who has this, that they need relationships to be fair. And so far, whenever I've said that, they're like, oh, yes, that's so important to me. That's so important. Now, another one is, this is Julia Roberts, when the mouth is very wide. And this is actually the shape of the mouth. It comes out very wide. And this is the meaning for affectionate and generous. When the mouth is very small, this is the dictator of North Korea, it means the lips are literally right under the nose. And this is also a very unusual mouth. You don't see this very often. It is the mouth that Henry VIII had in paintings, who killed 4 wives, 3 wives, I lost track. Anyway, but it indicates someone in general who is very self-absorbed and dangerous to cross swords with. Another lip structure for romance is, this is the one where the lower lip is very large. And if you go online afterwards and look at Elvis Presley on Google Images, that's the lip that he has also. And it means very sultry, person's very sensual, loves alcohol, food. Okay, now this is the one, a very thin lip. And thin lips, so it means the lip is very narrow, both lips. And so this is someone, and I actually did a reading on one of you who had thin lips, and it means that you express your love through action. You don't necessarily say it. You have a hard time telling people about your love, or even saying, I feel guilty, or I feel frightened, or, so being expressive is not easy verbally, but it's shown in other ways. In this particular lip, the man, if we look closely, the upper lip is narrow and the lower lip is full. The lower lip's kind of pale on this photo. And this is the one that most people have. I know I have this lip, means the upper lip is narrow, the lower lip is fuller. And about 80% have this lip, of all different ethnic backgrounds, everyone. And it means we take in information and we might share news, but we don't share gossip, so we keep confidentiality. Now, this one, of course, looks like Botox, but it's the upper lip is bigger than the lower lip. And this particular lip is giving. Oh, and sometimes it's over giving. For example, I've seen this probably 40 times. And when I ask the person, do you give a lot? They always say yes, like, and not everyone gives a lot, but they do. And sometimes what it means when the upper lip is bigger, it means they give too much or they want to control what they give. And the way I ask that is I'll say, if you give something to the Salvation Army, do you want to know what happens to it? And they went, oh, yes. And I went, I don't care. When I give something, I'm like, it just goes in the universe. So, they like to kind of manage things. Okay, now the next part, and by the way, as you have questions, I'm going to give you my phone number. So just start texting questions to me and I will answer them in a little bit. My phone number is 760-479-0008. So just text me questions. So when we take a break, I'll answer. Now we're going into great sex and loving romance. So their facial features for playfulness, sensuality, warmth, love of children. And I'm going to give you a few of those. So this is a very sweet one. And this is one where we're looking at the eye area below the eye. And this is very sentimental. So it's round below the eye. If you look at mine are flat. So everyone's different. It's a style of personality, not a right or wrong. So this one means the person keeps scrapbooks, they keep momentums, they have their whole house full of things. And so it doesn't mean, for example, mine's flat. I don't keep things, but I love receiving them. So I don't have huge volumes of photo books or cards, but I love receiving them. But this person keeps them. Okay, another part that is high testosterone is when the eyebrows are very thick, usually a man, or if they have a thick beard or mustache. So this is a yang, Y-A-N-G feature. And another example of what's attractive to people in romance, this is Bill Gates, is when there's width between the nose to the ears, the middle face. And as Simon said, how this works out is that we feel it unconsciously. We look at someone and we're drawn to them. Now, there's an overlay to this. If one believes in reincarnation, which I do, is the overlay is we remember people subconsciously from before. So what this means is you meet someone and you're immediately drawn to them, or you meet someone and you're like, whoa. So basically, there's an attraction from before. What I've noticed in the thousands of readings I've done is this inner understanding, which is in the first 3 to 6 months of knowing this new partner. A lot of what, if we're, one of the partners, a lot of what we're experiencing with him, her, the partner, is a memory, a subconscious memory of who they are from before. So hopefully it was good. So sometimes what happens is they've changed since we knew them in a past life, such that they might not be the same person, or perhaps we've grown a lot, such that it's not going to work this lifetime. But the first 3 to 6 months, what I hear very frequently is this hope that this person will change or kind of come back to being really wonderful or something. And those are subconscious memories. And so what I tell people is see who they are in the present. And when I was on Tyra Banks, what we talked about was my opinion. I had a happy marriage, and most of the people I know are happily married, about 10 couples. The goal of a super happy marriage is the person's your best friend. You can talk to them about anything. And then you add the romantic part on top of that. There has to be chemistry. But when you marry someone who you're really close to, it's very easy. And the goal of harmonious relationships or good marriages is it's easy. Sometimes I've met people and it was very painful, like from the start, this relationship. And I said, you know, if it's good, if it's my opinion, if it's coming from God, it's easy. Excuse me. I'm going to turn down my sound for just a second because I'm going to cough. Okay, so what we're going to look at now, I have some other features that make someone wonderful in a relationship. And these are from my photo books that you can buy if you're interested. These are dimples. And so dimples in someone's face means they're playful. So that's really sweet. Another one, and this is Jennifer Aniston. Anyway, so this one is the one, she has really good communication lines that circle the mouth. So these are called nasolabial lines. And so it means the person's articulate and usually that they're listening, you know, they're paying attention, they're listening. And that's important to most people. The last one, this is Kirk Douglas from long ago. And Michael Douglas also has this feature. It's right here. It's like a dimple here. Now, there are two parts. One that could be a cleft. And if you remember Dudley Do-Right in the Canadian Mounties cartoon forever ago, that's playful. And when I see this, it sometimes means the person never grows up. So they're always, you know, they might not be the best provider because they're always wanting to play, have adventure, etc. Whereas this particular one, which is, I call it like the donut with the hole in the middle, this is high sex drive. So, you know, interesting. Okay, so those are a few of the possibilities. And just quickly, the photo books, if you want them, just email me face reading 1 at AOL. And there are 4 of them. And when I teach classes, they have photos of all famous people with the facial feature in the corner. And they're about 130 pages each. So they're on sale. Okay, now the next part is soul age. And that one's a biggie in terms of actually being with a partner. And when I was on morning TV, Laura Buxton, the news anchor, said to me, well, how about an older soul with a younger soul? How will they do? And I said, it just depends on a lot of factors. However, usually people are more comfortable with someone at their same soul age. And I'm going to define soul age in just a second. On YouTube, there are 2 videos that we did for morning TV. And the first one, which is Yogananda and Saint Teresa of Lisieux, a woman saint, and Yogananda, a man Indian saint. So, and their soul. And soul age is actually in the eye structure. And I'm going to show you lots of pictures.
You're pretending to know.
Pardon? I missed it. I'm going to actually, if I could turn off comments for right now, and at the end, send me questions and I'm happy to respond. Okay, so I'm going to start with soul age, and it's the radiance that comes from the eyes. So the eye can be any color. A person can be any ethnic background. It really doesn't matter. And I'm going to show you pictures so you'll understand. Keep in mind, soul age is just one facial feature, and it's probably the hardest to ascertain if you haven't looked at a few hundred people, but I'm going to show you pictures so it might be a little clearer. And most people who are listening to this class are obviously older souls, mature older souls. I personally consider old souls to be the Dalai Lama, Jesus, you know, sort of in that category. The rest of us are moving towards it. That's my point of view. Okay, so we have young souls and old souls. And in between, I kind of used to put mature souls when I taught classes. So I'm going to define these terms. A young soul is someone, they need a lot of tight boundaries and restrictions. And we see this in their behavior, their verbiage. If there's a problem, it's you. So in other words, they do what we call in psychiatry projection. You know, it's like you have the problem, I'm fine. So whereas an old soul, if there's a dissonant situation, disagreement, they look inside themselves. How can I change myself? growth patterns. What do I need to change? Like Maslow, a psychologist, talked about self-actualization, self-realization. And so that is what we're going for. And that's the goal of someone who is more developed. Okay, so a few other factors. Why is Soul Age important? It gives you the inner track on understanding someone's behavior, and it helps you to know inside out, you know, what they're going to do, what's happening, their motivation. And for us, even it's what kind of person do you want to be? You know, in terms of our goal is to be better mentally, physically, spiritually, but not everyone has that goal. And as I told some of you, I taught criminology on a college level for many years. So not everybody is wonderful or even has the goal of inner transformation. Now, also with Soul Age, you'll see that these are universal features. So again, radiance from the eyes has nothing to do with age, gender, ethnic background, or eye color. It's universal. It is the degree of compassion, love, and joy that come out of the eyes. When we look, and I'm going to show you pictures in just a second. When we look at young souls, the term young souls, you're going to look in their eyes, and you know, that horrible term, deer in the headlights, you know, it's like, you know, where the eyes are very flat, they're cold, and there's a quality where you try to look in their eyes and your eyes bounce right back. In other words, there's no inner depth of the eyes as you're looking into them. And you'll see it when I show you the pictures. The concept's a little hard to explain. An older soul, however, Martin Luther King, even Washington, Dalai Lama, Yogananda, the painting of Jesus, the Hoffman painting of Jesus, there's a warmth to their eyes. You can go deep into their eyes, and there's a feeling of, I want to, you know, I'm going to laugh. You want to like crawl up on their lap and just have them go, ooh. You know, there's a lot of compassion from the eyes. So I'm now going to show you some photos, and just take your time with these because, as I said, this is the harder concept of all the facial features. So this is an example of a young soul. So we're looking at the eyes, and your eyes come in and they come right back. So it looks like the image is right on the surface of the eyes. So when I show you the old soul, you'll understand the comparison. So here are some young soul eyes, very flat, flat. Okay. And now here's a comparison. This is the dictator of North Korea, and this is Oprah. So we're looking at the eye radiance. So the top photo, you can see the eyes are very flat, whereas when you look at Oprah, there's a joyous feeling in the eyes. The eyes have more life. There's more energy there. There's just a consciousness there. Here's another example. This is a young soul compared to an older soul. I think this is Mandela on the bottom. I don't remember. But an older soul, there's just more depth. And I'm going to show you the old soul up close. You feel that there's more understanding. Here's the younger soul. The eyes are very flat when you look at them. Okay. And here are two presidents. This is Clinton, the top, and President Obama, who I feel was very old soul. You can see there's your eyes look in and there's someone looking back at you. There's warmth, there's wisdom compared. Here's a younger soul. Clinton, President Obama. Here's another one. This is a younger soul. The eyes just are very flat. And then this is the older soul. And so we want to draw someone who's close to our soul age if you're looking for a partner, because it's just easier. You know, it's more fun. It's easier. If you're an old soul and you're talking to someone about what you're learning in terms of wisdom and understanding, and they're a young soul, they want to go party. They don't, you know, they don't want to listen to you. They're not interested in that. Okay, so this is Mother Teresa of Calcutta, old soul who I had the honor of meeting in India. The depth of understanding. Here's Martin Luther King. Beautiful eye structure. So there's all different ethnic backgrounds, the same. The eyes have depth, they have warmth, they have compassion. So that's the older soul age. And here's one of my friends who was once a student who became a close friend, Manfred, whose eyes are very beautiful, very old soul. Okay, so now we're going to go into partnership. I pulled up a whole bunch of partners, and in the book, which is on my facereading1.com, I go into dating. I have all like hundreds of facial features and what the person's like on a date. And then I even have a checklist of, your features, their features. So again, you're looking for a 70-30 match. Okay, so here we have one couple. And I believe they do have a 70-30 match. So I'm going to turn it towards me so I can tell you what that is. For example, they both have very strong nasolabial lines, strong front teeth, good jaws. Probably a 60-40, but it's close. They have like the shin, which is similar resonance. And here's Tom Hanks with his wife, Rita. And you can just feel that there's even the chin structure's the same. And okay, this is early picture Goldie Hawn, I think Kurt Russell. So these are similar. The 30% difference would be she has they both have full cheeks. He has, I think, a square forehead line. I don't know what hers is. But their faces are somewhat similar. Perhaps her eyes are a little bit bigger, but that's the 30% chemistry. Whereas here is an example of completely nothing in common. And we know, of course, that he was in love with somebody else, but their faces are completely different and wouldn't have worked. Okay, so we have a few more minutes and I'm going to give you my phone number again and just send me, if you have any questions or send them to Simon. My phone number is 760-479-0008. And I'm going to go get your questions and answer as many as I can. So let's
Barbara, I have a question for you. Since this is a group of astrologers.
Oh, yes. Do you want me to do the four soulmates?
Yes, please.
I have that. I wasn't sure if I should be doing that. Okay, I know them. Okay, so here's the inner track in astrology. And Simon, I showed this to Simon years ago. These are patterns that are like always good. Okay, optimum for soulmate. Let's say it's a man and a woman, or woman, doesn't really matter. It's just neutral charts. Okay, the sun of one person is the moon of the other person. And they have to be, when you look at the chart, they have to be well aspected. In other words, if the sun has huge oppositions of red lines going into it, it doesn't mean it's well aspected. But if it's very harmonious, and then the moon of the other person, is very harmonious, that's a soulmate match. That's what I had with my husband. Okay, and then the other one is when the opposite, so it's like, it's hard to do this reversed in your head, but sun, moon, different people. So, okay. Number 2 is we always look for the healing node. And wherever let's say my healing node's in Virgo. So for me, drawing in a Virgo would mean the person would be very healing for me. And this also could translate to other relationships, but it's particularly good in marriage. Okay, one that we always look for, because it's always divorce so far, is Saturn. So if my Saturn is the other person's sun sign, that's not good. Or kind of vice versa, where Saturn's like, that's not a good sign, unless Saturn, if it's my Saturn, if the person is at least 7 to 10 years older than I am, then it's possible. But usually their sun sign in my Saturn, not good, or vice versa. Very, very not good. Okay, the optimum, and this we always look at how it is set up. The optimum is a woman's Mars is her ideal man. And keep in mind, I do charts for people who are gay. So, if it's a woman partner, I look for Mars, or Venus, in between. But my sun, oh, excuse me, if I'm a woman, my Mars, even Jungian work, that's my wonderful man. That's what I'm looking for, is that kind of man. And so their sun should be my Mars, well aspected. And the flip side, if I'm a man, wherever my Venus is, this is all natal chart. It's not progress relocated. It has to be natal chart. When you look for compatibility, you always go for the natal chart. This is Western. Simon knows the rest for him. Okay, so for a man, where their Venus is their optimum woman relationship, if it's a man-woman, and it also has to be well aspected, and that's a soulmate match.
Barbara, so the man's Venus should match to the woman's what? Sun?
Correct. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, to the sun and the sun on the other side. Yeah,
And you mentioned the healing node, and that should connect to what?
the sun.
The
Sorry.
sun of the other person.
Correct. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, it's the sun
And
of the
by the way, the healing node is K2. It's the south node of the moon.
okay. And then what I do when I do personal readings is I do the face reading for most of it. And then as I'm looking at career, because it'll show you career really quickly, or relationships, is I pull up your spiritual astrology chart in Western, and I do all those soulmate indicators and tell you this person's good for you. This person's, I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. This person will be great for you. This person's neutral, cut and run. So it's sort of like we look at your chart for what's good for you. And I found it about 95% accurate.
That's amazing. So these are tried and tested combos, and I can tell you from our work and compatibility that they work. And there you go. So just to summarize, sun and moon combos, either conjunct or opposite. K2 and sun combos. The divorce combo is a Saturn sun combo, and that's or at least a separation, or at the very least, people need time apart. So he travels for work, she stays home, or vice versa, and that you could make it work, but it's a tough.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Then the woman's Mars, the woman's ideal man, connects to the man's sun, either by conjunction or opposition. And then the man's Venus connects to the woman's sun, either by conjunction or opposition. Barbara, would you consider trines, like very close aspect of trines, so-so?
Yeah. For example, I know someone who's been married 30 years in a really good marriage, and they don't have any of this.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's also past lives, and it comes in, for example, the 7th house in Western is marriage, and someone could have their partner sign right above it, or so it's not
Yeah,
even,
yeah.
but these are always like, when they're there, it's like it's this. And the joke I tell people, if I'm looking for a man and he's a Capricorn and I have a Capricorn moon and it's well aspected, he can come away and he can do this and we'll end up together. It's like, doesn't matter, you're together.
It's a soulmate combo, and you see it often sometimes in parent-child relationships, in good business partners. It's just relationships where we're like, okay, we've done this before. We know how to make this work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cool.
And it's the goal. I mean, we're always giving service to whoever comes to us, but especially in marriage or in intimate partnerships, you want it to be easy, so that it's harmonious and growth connected. Okay, so I have a bunch of questions. Do you have any more, Simon? I'm going to go to all the questions on my.
No, that's it.
Okay, hold on. Here's one. Oh, this looks like a really big one. Okay, hold on. I have to read it first. When it comes to young old souls shown in eye radiance, doesn't the expression in the particular moment affect the perception of radiance? No, it does not. The image of Oprah you showed looked like she was happy and smiling. No, it doesn't matter if the person's frowning, as long as they're looking straight ahead. I mean, they don't have to be joyful, but the radiance is depth. And as I said, it's the hardest one to kind of ascertain what it is. So it takes some practice, but you now have a skill. So just start looking at people either on the news or whatever. And after a while you go, oh, I got it. You know, so it has nothing to do with transient facial expressions. Good question. Okay, here's number 2. What did you say was the trait of thick eyebrows and beard in a man? It means high testosterone. In other words, yang energy. Okay, here's the next one. Facial features we should be looking out for indicate lack of emotion and sociopath narcissism. Okay, well, I covered that in the last class, a few of them, but wait, where is it? The whole list I'm going to show you after I worked with the FBI on September 11th. I drew up a list, and here it is in my book, is dangerous facial features. So I'm going to just go over them quickly. So here, so it's like a whole list of dangerous facial features. And really quickly, when I was on national radio out of New York, a police officer who was the head of New York, police something, called me and said that everything in the book was accurate. And the way I developed it was by looking at hundreds and hundreds of facial features sent to me by the FBI and the Canadian government for criminals. So I identified the patterns, because that's what I love doing, patterns. And so these are each patterns of dangerous facial features. So I'm going to list a few of them, but it's important to see what they look like, frankly. So anyway, little ad. This is my book. It's on facereading1.com, PDF, $20, iPad, $20, and it's in paperback for US people. Okay, so here are the features for dangerous relationships. Keep in mind, you look at the whole face. One is the tiny mouth, which I showed you, dictator of North Korea. Another one is this one, where this is the jaw. When I was looking at O.J. Simpson during the trial, he would do this with his jaw. So I'm going to show you. Oh, there's the cat. He's eating Simon's ear now. Okay, so this is a rage muscle. So I'm going to demonstrate. And this is what O.J. Simpson would be doing during the trial, and Clarence Thomas. So it looks like this. Tightening it. So this means the person has a lot of rage. So you want to be careful. Also, there's another lip structure that was found. I'm going to draw it. The Myra Hensley, who was, I'm going to draw it for you on my whiteboard, who was a serial killer, had this mouth structure. And actually, believe it or not, I've seen it more frequently than I would like. So here's some examples. Number 1 is a wonderful mouth where the lips open outward. And so this is normal, wonderful. Actually, it should be more like that. And number 2 is where the mouth, it's like the Joker's mouth. At the upper edges, it turns in, in other words, the mouth goes like that. And so what that means in face reading, keep in mind there are thousands of these features. What that one means is that the parents are very judgmental, put a lot of pressure on the person. And in her particular face, Myra Hingley, she also had the sclera, where you have to be looking straight at someone. And if someone's had a stroke, sometimes, the eye looks different. But if you can see sclera, the white under the eyes, when they're looking straight ahead, this is a very dangerous facial feature. And when we looked at O.J. Simpson, during the progression from when he was in football to when he, was accused of murdering his wife, you can see tremendous white going into the inner eye, meaning the person's becoming unraveled. And this is an example. This is Goebel from the Third Reich, where you can see the eye, the white under the eye. And another very, very important example, and this one, if you're dating on the internet, this is the ears. And so these are from the photos from the New York felons that I was sent. And when the ears are very unusual shape, it's not good. It's something, it has to do with neurological pathways and emotional issues. So there are a whole bunch of ears in here. So anyway, good to have for reference. Simon's playing with his cat. Okay, so let me go to another. Here we go. Okay. Do you, anyone else, wait, looking for more? Hold on, I have more questions. What can you tell us about a person upturned bow-shaped lips? Oh, I think I just did that. And another question, hold on. How about reading the past and the future? Well, what Simon said at the beginning, I completely resonate with, which is you're looking at someone's, I'm sorry, I'm watching the cat. You're looking, you're looking at someone's who they are, their emotions, their potential, how they think, how they respond, their neurological pathways. That's all in the face. And so the past shows in the face, and then the future is somewhat predictive based on how much inner work they're doing to work with their tendencies, if some of them aren't positive. But it's also, you have a pretty good range of what's going to happen. But I don't predict the future. That's not my area. But sometimes, because the sessions I do are all intuitive, sometimes it just comes. I just go, oh, okay. It all comes like a fact sheet. Okay, questions?
There's
Simon?
a question about Graves' disease, where the eye will pop out.
Right. So in medicine, Graves' disease is adrenal exhaustion. And actually, the topic where the eyes pop out is called hyperthyroidism. Maybe Graves' disease has that. When I've seen Graves' disease patients, I've not seen that, but hyperthyroidism is where the eyes, and this was more in the 1800s, people had that. Now what we do in clinical medicine, when someone has an overactive thyroid, is they remove it. And so the eyes popping out, that's from an illness, basically, condition. Okay, more questions? Oh, this might be helpful. Keep in mind, if there's one facial feature that you don't understand or that doesn't quite fit with the other ones, what I do is I put that aside and then I look at the rest of the face to see, is that picked up in the rest of the face? Because the features often are very similar when they're strong in the character. Okay, more questions?
What do you think of Bill Gates's face?
That's a whole chapter. Let's keep staying on this topic and we'll keep going. Keep in mind, when I look at a face, I don't go, I like it, I don't like it. I go through the whole thing like a character analysis. So are there any other romance relationship topic questions? Do I have any? Hold on. So if you have some, send them to my, oh, here are some coming in. And if you have any, send them, here's a new one. What about, oh, Buggy Nice, I think I just did that one. Oh, what about identical twins? Very interesting. Okay, well, I'm a twin. As you probably know, of course I have a brother, so that's not identical. What I found in identical twins is fascinating is, well, in yoga, here's the concept that the avatars and the saints talk about, is when you come into the same mother at the same time, you obviously have karma together. And so Yogananda's point of view was you either love each other or you hate each other because you're coming in at the same time. Luckily with my brother, it was good. So, but with identical twins, what I've seen, even though sometimes they look very similar, or often, and their charts are somewhat similar, that's when you try to go deeper. Because what I've seen is, here's the chart, here's the face, but sometimes one will express this facet of it, and sometimes someone else will express another facet of the same chart, even though they're identical. It's much more complicated though, I gotta say. It's much harder to read someone who's read two people together who are identical twins. Okay, more questions? Here's one. Can you read them to me, Simon? I can't see them.
Yes. let's see, the last one. Is it more important to look at your own face and then find the face of your soulmate match your face when you want to date?
Good question. Excellent question. The answer is yes. So, boy, that's like a whole hour. So let me start. The answer is yes. The whole thing with face reading is it's a spiritual introspective tool. Like when I've been looking at many of you doing the readings, and as I said in career, what's important, a separate topic here, is you look like what you do. So the point is, if I were to say to you, I am a Navy SEAL and the head of the LAPD department, you would go, I don't think so. Hopefully not. No, she doesn't look anything like that. So the goal of face reading is you get who are you? How do you come across? How do people see you? And then resonating with someone who has similar facial features. Again, 70-30. So hair can be different, different color, that's part of the 30. Again, eye color is deep or mild, that's how that works out. But I have I'll show you, I have a whole group. I have at least 20 examples of facial features here. Should I go on and talk about these? I don't know if that's relevant, but basically, yes, you look at your own face, you look at the way to do this, let me slow down. The best way to look at yourself or anyone is you look at their face and you look at the first 5 facial features you see. Because what those mean are those are the most accurate parts of their character. Those are the parts that are significant in them. So I'm going to read Simon's face. Do you mind? Okay.
Do you want me to take my glasses off?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so to start with, he actually has that line that we talked about last time. Go like this, Simon. Okay. Yeah. So he has a really good line going across the forehead, which is very successful. And he's Caucasian. So we're looking at the nose. So a very large lower nose area, which is combination of communicator and abundant. And so like Mother Teresa of Calcutta has it in the spiritual area. Some people have it in the physical area for money. So it can be both. So very, very good. The next part of his face that's highlighted is the nasolabial lines that have a round part here. And what they mean is highly articulate. So this is a teacher. And then we've got the very tall forehead, which almost has a cat on it coming forward.
Sorry.
That was so much fun. Okay, so the high forehead is very quick mentally. And your eye color, is it brown or hazel?
It's brown.
Brown, okay. And then if you turn to the side, go ahead and turn to the side. And turn back very slowly. So we're looking at the ears as, okay. Now I'm not on eye level with Simon in my viewing him. I'm looking, oh, thank you. Okay, better. Okay, so on eye level with him, if we look very closely, we draw a horizontal line across the eyes. His ears are low set. And what this means in face reading is late bloomer. So it often means a second relationship or marriage. Then it means somebody coming into their own after 32 to 35. And all of a sudden they do a lot better. Is that accurate? Any of those
That's
things
true.
accurate? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pope John was Pope at 60. Ronald Reagan, very low set ears, president, I think 48. Whereas high set ears, like past President Obama, are academic, multiple college degrees. So it's not like reversed. It doesn't mean, that one's a late bloomer, one's an early bloomer. It means different meaning. And then also for Simon, he's got very small eyes, which I do also. His bone structure is bigger than mine, but we have small eyes, which is detail and precision. So it means someone who sees everything. That's the hope. Okay, and then, the cat's so funny. Then we've got, great. Okay, then I know you're so funny. Then we've got the upper lip, same as mine, lower lip larger. So this is, we take in information, we keep it confidential. And then for Simon, another part is he's got the very low set eyebrows. Now mine are medium high. High is, or high, higher. My high is up here. So low set eyebrows, Simon's, means friendly, easy to get to know. Mine are kind of normal height. And so a little higher. And so mine are, when the eyebrows are high, it indicates someone likes a lot of respect, and also they're more private. So, like I tell people when I do the individual sessions, if they have super high eyebrows, that you like to choose who your friends are. You kind of bring in people. And so Simon's face is one of service and spirituality highlighted. And the cat's face, I'm looking at inquisitiveness, looking for food. Um, wait, that wasn't too deep. Anyway, okay, more questions? How are we doing? Oh, wait, there's one other thing I want to bring up. Hold on. Okay, are there any more questions? Because I have one more thing to cover.
Nope, rock and roll. Let's see.
Oh, let me check my phone. Hold on. There are ones coming in on my phone. Hold on a second. A few more on my phone. So give me a second. And okay, here's another one. Oh my, these are long. Okay. Okay, talk about hair. Okay, so hair, fine hair, thick hair, hair color, wavy, straight. There are all these different parts, all in my book. So, and when you, what was it? When you buy the face reading session, I send you a free face reading chart. So that has all these things listed also and their meanings. So hair, this is very quick. When it's very fine, mine's thick, but when it's very fine, it means sensitive nervous system. Also, sometimes digestive problems if the person is stressed, really stressed, because they're an empath usually and very sensitive. Thick hair is usually love of the outdoors and resilient. So hair color, and in my book I talk about three parts: what you're born with, how you like to look, and accident surgeries. What you're born with, for example, my earlobes are long, my chin is narrow, that's probably not going to change. Number two, how you like to look is maybe changing your hair color. I call it the whole bottom floor of Clinique when you have makeup and you're changing your face. Number three is accident surgery, melanoma, skin cancer, orthodontia, braces. So it's changing the face. Plastic surgery is number three. Okay, so hair can be, you can change your hair color, your texture. So basically, this is very universal. Keep in mind, depending how you feel, black hair is very intense, unless it's someone who has black hair as part of their ethnic feature, Hispanic perhaps, Asian, African American. So then you ignore it. Okay, so brown hair is usually family connected, but you want to look at the rest of the face. Red hair has a little bit of fire, dynamic energy. Blonde hair these are universal, and I have a whole list of more features in the book, but blonde can be rather independent, joyful, independent. Okay, so those are a few with hair. Okay, so I have a few more questions here. Okay, let me go to the other questions. What about one cheek is higher than the other? I don't know. Now, I will tell you, sometimes this is possible. It might look higher. So here are possibilities. Keep in mind there are hundreds of features. Sometimes the left eye is lower. And when this comes in, left side again, opposite, left side is lower. It can mean difficulty with the father, depending how low and what's going on. So sometimes the cheek, perception of the cheek might be another facial feature, or when the jaw, this is my left side, when the jaw is really big on one side, usually the left, it means the person was very hard on themselves or is very hard on themselves emotionally. So there are all these other factors that might give the perception of one cheek being higher where it might not be. So it's more like a precision thing, and I'm big on precision. As you can tell, small eyes. Okay, here we go. Okay, I think that's about all I've got that I think I can answer. And there's one thing I want to close with though. Oh, if anyone's, I know many of you have already signed up. Fun to see you again for individual sessions. I have a special discount for Simon for any of his group. If you're interested, write to me at face reading, like the book, number one at AOL.com, and I'll send you the discount. And then the photo books that I showed you are $60 for all four. They come in a PDF format. And there, if you want to study face reading, that's what I used to use in classes, are my books on face reading one, if you want it. And thank you, Simon. Anything? Oh, one more thing. Oh, go ahead. Did you have something to say? I have one more thing to do.
No, go ahead, and yeah, and I'll
Okay.
send the post.
Here we have Santa's face. So I'm going to analyze it for you. So we've got the broad forehead. So he thinks in big terms, global warming is important. He's got the high eyebrows. And so this is loyal to friends, high standards. Balloon nose. And this would be center of news, information, and gossip. Visible nostrils for him, and spends money easily, needs an accountant. Large mouth, which is extrovert, generous, warm-hearted. Visible eyelids, like mine, visible eyelids, which is efficient, do-gooder, punctual. And then crow's feet, these things, which is fun side, good with correspondence. High cheekbones, which is, his are very round. So high cheekbones, round. High cheekbones is love of travel, likes to be self-employed, and round is very loving. Long earlobes tunes into the big picture. So Merry Christmas, everyone. And your turn, Simon. I'm done.
Yes, that was great. Even fictional figures have, have a face.
Thank you.
So there are some questions about moles, hairlines, widowed peaks. So we could do a whole 2-hour thing on moles. We did it for our Dharma type certification class, where depending on where the mole is placed, it has a specific meaning.
Here's
mhm.
everything's in my book, including a chart on moles. So everything that you just asked is all explained in my book, but go ahead, more?
Yes, and I think everybody should own that book, whatever you do, even if you're not an astrologer or face reader. It's one of the best. Barbara Roberts' book on face reading and Dr. Lott's book on pulse reading, to me, are the two best buys you can get in terms of understanding the human physics. Like, they're like $20. I mean, anyway, the site is facereading1 at AOL.com. That's the email. And the website is facereading1.com.
Correct. And it's one, the number one.
The number one.
Number
Okay.
one.
And
So
yeah,
Barbara, what about the kitty cat's face?
Well, he's a lover.
she's a little terrorist is what she
Yeah.
is.
What?
Yeah. She's a little terrorist is what she is.
Yeah.
She just climbs on you and starts gnawing at.
Yeah. Well, she knows a good thing. She's like, I'll just go to dad.
She's purring right now.
I know.
So there are great questions here about widow speak. I can tell you, every person I've met with, my dad has a very pronounced widow speak, and he used to tell me when he was drafted into the army, he was a troublemaker. He got kicked out because the widow speak is very, don't tell me what to do. And just knowing that little thing, oh my God, you look at someone's hairline, you go, oh, okay, I know something about this guy or gal,
You want me to answer all these in detail?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
yes, if you have time.
Huh? I have time. Okay. I allowed a lot of time. Okay. Widow's peak. Mine's mild, but whenever I see a widow's peak, I always say to someone, you're the wrong person for the army. Do not go to the convent. Because it means widow's peak. We don't like to be told what to do, especially if the person who's telling us really doesn't know what they're doing. 2 is we would prefer being self-employed or having our own territory, like when I was in public health. So where we have our own territory, all our own clients, we set up everything how we want it, and then we're paid, by a hospital or something. But it means independent. And what's the last meaning? High spirited. And it's usually it can be very spiritual, but not religious. So in many of your readings, as I've defined, religious from my point of view is different than spiritual. The hope is if you're religious, you have a conscious contact with God, but not necessarily. Some people who are religious can be very dogmatic or fundamentalists who consider themselves religious, whereas spiritual is, to me, you want a win-win for people, you're benefit focused, usually love of travel, interest in foreign people, countries, also love of nature, where you have a connection to spirit and you might never go to church. So that's spiritual. And hopefully if you're both, but they're different. So, okay, what was the next question?
There's the latest comment says, her dad was a terrible listener, not sure if it's tiny ear related, because he always had tiny ears.
Yes, very small ears. I don't have a picture of that right away in the book, but tiny ears, when we're looking at dangerous facial features, tiny ears aren't dangerous, but it means the ears are what you hear neurologically. When someone, and you keep in mind, I might not consider ears small from looking at a few thousand people, whereas you might go, oh my gosh, they're small, but they have to be really tiny. Like the dictator of North Korea, where his mouth is like right under his nose, and we're talking tiny. So when ears are small, it means QPF is coming in and what you hear is ABC. So it's like you're not hearing what's going on. You know, you're not in tune with what's happening at all, and not a good listener.
So how does a person work with that? Let's say someone has those ears.
I will talk about that because I've talked to people with all these different facets. And so I talked to a couple, and I think the husband had that, really tiny ears. And I said to his wife, write it out. He's very visual, but don't tell him, because he doesn't get it. So like write it out or something, and that's really work for them. So there are other ways to communicate other than this, writing, or I can't think, right off, I can't, that was the only one I could think of, and it worked for them.
So use another pathway rather than the auditory, use visual kinesthetic.
Not gonna work.
Got it. That's brilliant.
Or here's the other one. This is the second thing I just remember I said to them. So you write it out, or if you're talking to them, you wait and you ask the person to restate what you just said, what you need. And they're like this, and you go, no, it was, and so patiently, it's like you work with them till they tell you what you said, but you have to be really patient. Oh, one thing, this was fascinating about relationships and romance, because I like to add this, is everyone has things they're working out. And I always tell you in these sessions, when I'm perfect, I'll phone you. So don't expect a phone call. I'm not perfect. And one of the things my husband told me, who was incredibly nurturing and sweet, he said, Barb, you don't have to be perfect to be loved. So I'm like, oh my gosh, near nose bridge perfect. I'm like, oh, what a concept. So, in terms of your face and all these things, you just be you. But like that question from before, you found out, what kind of person am I? What's going on? How do people perceive me? So that you draw someone who's really harmonious to you in a relationship or business. Okay, more questions, Simon?
Yes. Let's see. Everybody wants your contact. Can someone please write in face reading, how to know anyone at a glance? That's the title of the book. Let's see, moles and freckles.
We didn't call them moles, but here's what it looks like. By the way, it's not on Amazon, because I used to be on Amazon. Now my book sells for $175 on Amazon. So I sell it for $20, for $25 on my website. Don't go to Amazon. I can't even get it on Amazon anymore because I charge too little, I think. So anyway, here's moles. I have a whole chart on moles. I hope I can find it fast. I don't know if I can find it fast. Anyway, in the book, I have a whole chart.
It's towards the end, and it's a whole face chart, and you can see based on the location of the mole what it indicates.
And a list.
And then there are two illustrations. Yeah. So question, that's a good question. So for someone with a widow's peak, should the partner also have that feature?
Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no.
No.
No. So the 70-30, that would be almost impossible. I mean, to get
Don't
that.
tell me what to do. You don't tell me what to do. Why don't you? I don't want to do what you do. Right.
Talk about
Yeah.
it.
But I think, look, I think it could work, but 70-30, I think that definitely some differences should be there. As long as there's compatibility elsewhere, two widows peak people can be very independent and work independently.
Keep in mind, it takes, in my experience, it takes years of watching people in face reading to correctly call the features, to go, oh, that is a widow's peak versus an uneven forehead line,
Mm,
things like that. So
which
just
is
be,
something else.
yeah, that's a whole different meaning. And there are
Yeah.
thousands of these features. So it's like, it helps to have a guide, and just kind of be patient doing it.
This, we just need to walk around with you and just, because that's how it's done. And it's the Socratic method, right? And we all look at someone and Barbara just starts talking, right? Like,
That's so cute. Well, I did about 500 classes. And when I did my last classes that were on romance, we would do field trips. And so I take the group out and we go to a restaurant. And so the waitress would come up and everyone would go looking at her
yeah,
and she was just like, who are you? They were all staring at her, or I'd walk down the street and I'd say to the people, my class, I go, okay, that's a couple, give me a percentage match. We're walking right by them, 70-30, 60-40, tell me what they are.
mhm.
How long is this gonna last? For example, wait, who is the current couple who, oh, okay, this one will probably break this whole class open. Megan and Harry,
Mhm.
sorry, not a fan, but completely different.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, okay, more questions.
Yeah. So, but that is, that's the old method in India as well. The guru walks around with the students and you get it from practical experience. The books are wonderful. They give you the knowledge and then you put it into action. So a lot of this stuff, so because there was a question, can you do this with people on Zoom, with people on TV? And yeah, you're
Yeah,
seeing their face. We when we watch TV, we look at, like, anyway, okay, I don't want to talk about that. But because anytime I compliment someone, then the opposite, they get the opposite result. So I don't want to. I have this thing where when I speak, when I'm proud of someone and I say something like, "Hey, this person did this," then the opposite happens. So I'm not gonna. Yeah, I
okay.
know it's weird. It's weird.
I don't think we,
Um,
so I don't know. And
um,
oh, and by the way, if you have other questions, you can write me, face reading one at AOL. You can write me. I'll write you back.
there's a great comment here about masks. So masks now are actually giving us the opportunity to read people's eyes.
Oh, yeah.
So this is really, it's making you really focus on the upper part, the forehead and the eyes. Any comments on that?
No, that's right on. I agree.
So
It takes
it's
about the face, including the ears usually. So all you see is the eyes and some forehead. So I agree. Very different.
it's very interesting. Um, it'll make us all experts at reading eyes and foreheads. Like when a person breaks their right arm and they start using their left arm a lot and they get really good with that.
Well, here we go in detail. Me, small eyes. There are 10 parts of the eyes. So you can do a lot with eyes. And then you've got hair color, hair texture, hair color, eyebrow shape. There are, I don't know, 20 eyebrow shapes. I mean, you can get a lot from the upper face.
So I'll say what I said, but I'll just leave the person. So there's a person I know who watch somebody on TV and go, that person has Mars Moon conjunction, or that person has Jupiter, Mars
Sound like fun.
aspect. And you look at their chart and man, they have it. Well, I bet they have Rohini, very prominent or in their ascendant. Boom, they have it.
Here's an example I was thinking of the other day. Is the first time I saw past President Obama on TV, it was like 20 years ago, and I don't know why he was on TV, and I looked at him, I went, he's a great soul. This man's going to be president. I mean, I just knew it right away. And so, and
Well, you
sometimes,
called that the context here is that was a year before the presidency. He had just put his hat in the ring, right? He wasn't president yet.
Oh, no, what I'm saying, it was way before he was
Way
president.
before.
It was
Yeah,
like 5 or 10 years, and he was some, I don't know his background, senator, or he
the
was
senator, yeah.
giving a political opinion, and I went, "Wow." And so sometimes you can see destiny in people. You know, I always look for the positive, but you can see what's gonna happen sometimes based on their shin and who they are and
That's
compassion.
amazing.
So more questions?
All right, let's see, more questions. And do you guys have any questions? You can unmute and just ask if you like. We're at that stage of the program.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question, Simon. So my question is, how does an old soul work with a young soul?
Not easily. Just, I'm being ridiculous. Okay, so here's my perception. They have different interests, and I think in happy marriages, the goal is you share what you can share. You know, what you have in common, you share that, you add to that. The interests are so different that for either one of them, it might be stressful. You know, whereas like the young soul who's interested in more play and just being in venture and being out there, they might find the older soul depressing, you know, because they're deep and they're intense. And the older soul might find the young person a little more boring. But the point in a marriage is that you maximize what you have. And this is my point of view, is you put God first and you see a marriage as an opportunity for you to work on your ego and to become kinder, to be more thoughtful, to be more in service versus what can I get from them? Or why is this not harmonious and this is irritating me? If you choose to stay in the marriage, you change your point of view to be focused on service.
Well,
And
and you focus on your commonalities. I have a lot of friends with whom I differ, uh, politically, spiritually, and other things, but we share certain common interests. And when we're doing that stuff, we're great. And then they send me stuff that I don't agree with. I send them stuff they don't agree with. But you just put that aside and you go, well, let's, when we spend time together on those things that we have in common, it's great. And so we stay friends.
and the other overlay to that is if you have children, my perception is your goal is to nurture and love them together. So it's not always about us, you know, what do I get and who am I and what do I need? It's like, how can I be of service and how can I, help this family, if you choose to stay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Barbara.
And you always remember that at any moment you have a heart attack right now and you fall to the ground, that person could resuscitate you and maybe save your life. And you might think they're an idiot. How can they think this? How can they do that? But that person could save your life. That person can do something of such enormous kindness for you, then that that possibility is always there. So when I interact with someone and I'm not, from a place of ego, I always see that. I go, this person could literally be my savior, my save my life, help me. And we've been in situations with my family where our lives have been in danger many times, and we've been helped by people. And they could, I mean, in other areas of life, we could disagree with them very much on all kinds of stuff. But in that moment, we owe our lives to them. So that's how I see it. Like, it could be whoever it is. I mean, I'm just gonna, I don't know, Kardashian or somebody. I have absolutely no ill will. In fact, admiration. And in fact, one of them could save my life, or they could donate to one of my charities $100,000. And how can I say anything bad, right? So you connect at the level at which you have agreement, and then acknowledge that at any given time, life circumstances can always change, and you may be dependent on such a person. And that's you and them. Ideally, they should see you that way as well. But even if they don't, that's what I hold in my mind and my heart, that we could be literally depend on this person for our lives at any given moment. And that's it. That's how I see it.
May I add something that comes to
Yes.
me? Oh, that was beautiful what you said. Beautiful. The other thought that comes to me is everyone's so different, and just delighting in what the person is, even though, instead of thinking, well, I'm an old soul and I'm arrogant, kind of, I can be arrogant. And the people I've known who are really old souls are actually quite humble and fun and very giving and nurturing. And so, the point about being critical or arrogant of anybody, it's like, I work on that all the time because I'm assessment oriented. Like I might see everything. It's like, no, you put aside the part that they're growing like I am. They're trying to learn or not with a young soul, who knows? But sometimes if we're an older soul or we have depth of understanding, it's important that we have friends we can do that with and share with our spiritual connections so that we're nurtured in that way. But then just delight in what the person can do, and honor that, help them honor that. And it takes a selfless person to do that, of course. Not
And
easy.
if you believe in karma, like we do, and reincarnation, I remember having this talk 20 years ago when I first started astrology. One of my colleagues said, how can Paris Hilton was all the rage back then. And like, oh my God, who is this despicable person and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a minute, you believe in karma, right? Yes. Well, then this person must have been a nun who saved children's lives and who did so much good to get beauty, wealth, social status, good health, all of the things that she has. Wouldn't you agree? Like, wow, I don't know. And we can translate into today, the stars of today, the political leaders of today. Just yesterday, and this is going to be a little controversial, but we're all family here, so might as well talk it out. Someone was saying, how can people believe Trump and he lies all the time in this, and how are people so deluded? And when we thought about it, I thought about the same thing and said, listen, probably this guy, young soul that he is, has saved people's life. Maybe he was a general and he led his armies to triumph. And now he has all these soldiers and people who worship him because he saved their lives. He did something that is so brave and honorable that people just look at him and they believe him because he has this karma. Nobody gets to where they are by accident. Everything is karma. So the people you hate, you may hate Bill Gates, you may hate Donald Trump. They are where they are because they have done something in some previous lifetime or alternate universe where they have earned this. And those of us who are down here kind of nipping at their heels going, rah, 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 rah. Now we have the right to our opinion, of course, but you also recognize that, hey, there's nothing undeserved in this world. So whatever it is that Trump or Gates or whoever these people have done, nothing happens by accident. And we may disagree. We may think they're horrible people in this life, and that's fine. That's, there are plenty of people whom I dislike on a personality level, but you do recognize that, hey, this isn't by accident. Look at their chart. These people have achieved tremendous things through work in a past life. So what they do in this life, that's another story. And this is the lesson of the Bhagavad Gita. It says you can, the state of mind that you die in when you're in your moment of death, if your state of mind is in a state of redemption, of grace, then you go to heaven, which is why not just in Hinduism, but in Christianity, practically every tradition, the priest sits over the dying person and is reading verses. Why? To get you into that state so you're released. However, the karmas you've done in that life also will eventually take hold. So you might go to heaven, but then if you've been a jerk most of your life, that's going to actually come back and pull you back eventually. So karma is very, very tricky. Yes, Barbara.
I was going to say one example that I've thought of is Gandhi, who at the end of his life was assassinated. And as he was dying, he pronoun because his whole life was about God. And he
Ram, 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 Ram.
as he died. And so what you do in your life also comes at the end. It's what is it? The biggest part of your life comes through at the end also.
Yeah.
The other part I know, well, I'll just share this is off topic, but when I was in public health, I took care of thousands of people who were dying and their families. And what I noticed is how people live is how they die. You know, the concept that, you know, leave it to Beaver, you know, where everyone's harmonious and at the end it's all whatever. Not necessarily, but how you live, if you're deeply spiritual or seeking inner transformation, you die in that consciousness. So it continues.
Well, that's the question beginning people in beginning spiritual aspirants ask, right? So, oh, well, wait a minute. If what I'm thinking of at the time of death is where I go, then I could just murder people. I can be an asshole and do all that stuff. And then, you know, so I actually asked this question. This was some many years ago. I asked my teacher, my mentor, and he said, well, Simon, that's true. However, leading your life this way pretty much creates a samskara, a vasana, where when you die, that's all you're going to be thinking of. You're not going to be able to make that jump. So he says the reason we do spiritual work and meditate and yada yada, so that at the time of death, we are taken to that beatitude. Otherwise, otherwise it seems like it's cheating. It's like in crypto when you've been working on your portfolio and stressing for hours, and then someone puts $100 into Dogecoin and it 1000x's and they become millionaires, and you're still hanging, you know, you're just barely scrapping. Oh man, that's not fair. Well, that's also karma. So it's very complicated. Bhagavad Gita is not so easy, but the essence is you work throughout your life so that at the time of death you attain this state. And you just buy some Dogecoin just in case. Or Shiba Inu.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And we brought it back to crypto, which is, of course, all roads lead back to crypto, right? All right. Well, any last questions for Barbara here? Beautiful.
I mean, I know I've saturated you all with these two classes. If you want some other topic and there's an opening that you want Simon, just ask and I'll show up. It's up to Simon.
There's a comment about looking into someone else's eyes and just doing that. And they said, I knew my husband, this would be my husband. That is part of tantric practices where you do gazing and you send and receive energy. There's a Tibetan practice of Tonglen where you give and receive energy, and you do that during lovemaking as well, where you circulate, you become one unit and you circle the energy. And if you have that connection between the eyes, you can actually make an energetic field. So it's, yes. Barbara, anything you want to say about that?
I agree. And I love your group. It's so deep, so much fun.
Yes. Well, these are very deep thinking people, and people think that, you know, finance and, well, we're crypto, we're not stocks. Stocks is a very different game. Crypto, you may not know this, Barbara, but the people who donated the most in charity last year were crypto people.
I didn't know that.
People who come from the crypto space, far more than stocks, far more than any other field. It was people in crypto, because there's something very democratic, something very world-saving about being in this space where you want everyone to thrive. You want to,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
So there's something spiritual as well, and of course something, you know, there are people from all walks of life doing crypto, but I think there are people who want to better the world in this space. So it's not by accident that we're all here. All right. Well, I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. My heart is open. Here's little. She's just, you know, hanging out, and she says hi. She's pouring her little heart out. And yeah, so we'll see you guys. Listen, I'm taking a little bit of a break. I'll give you whatever predictions I have. You know how I feel about Bitcoin moving forward. We've got another maybe week or two left of this kind of down cycle, and it's about to pick up. So Bitcoin is exactly where we thought it would be, somewhere in the mid 40s. Mid 40s. But hopefully with the new year, things should start picking up. I know everyone's kind of freaking out a little bit, but hang in there. And yeah, and this is the time to focus on other things. The meditation that Barbara did in the beginning which was for relationships. And Barbara, I'm glad you said you can also attract other things, because I was thinking about it in terms of crypto.
Yeah.
Meaning sometimes we can be so stressed about money, about portfolios, about I'm not where I need to be. And if you bring in a sense of contentment, like I am where I need to be, I'm exactly where I need to be, I have what I need. Even if I cash out right now, I have my needs met. Just creating that space, there was a great reminder for us, because the markets are down right now. And it's easy to fall into the space of, oh my God, what's happening? You know,
Time to buy.
time to buy. Yes, everything, when it's up, it's great because we're making, you know, energy's coming to us. When it's down, it's an opportunity to get into the market. So either an opportunity or a blessing.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. So, all right. Thank you so much, guys. Firoze, nice to see you. Barbara, great to see you. And thank you to everyone who's here. We'll keep this going, and happy holidays. Countdown to 2022. Namaste, everyone. Thank you again, Barbara. I hope, listen, last thing, I've heard from people who've got readings from Barbara, and they've emailed me and they're like, oh my God, thank you for doing this. It was a great session. I really appreciate it. And so if you haven't got a session, go, please get one. I've had like 6 from Barbara already. So she's tired of looking at my face. But you know, get in touch with her, and listen, it may not even be what you expect or even what you want, but you will get what you need. That's what I've noticed, that, oh, I want to know what's going to happen with this, and then you get something else sometimes, but that's what you need to get. So highly recommend it. And yeah, that's it. Namaste, everyone. Love you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.